You had an accident when you were 19 years old. I mean, you've spoken about it occasionally. You have made a big deal of it. I mean, but did that how did that influence what you're doing now in regard to this?
Well, at the time, I thought about what I did and the decisions that I'd made to contribute to, putting me in the position to have this accident, and it was back roads of Hawke's Bay. It was Easter 1991, and it was just a culmination of things that you took for granted, didn't really think much about. Big weekend with mates and stuff. Had been drinking earlier in the day. Hadn't been driving at that point or done anything like that. I wasn't drink driving, but I had alcohol in my system.
Yeah.
I was checked after the accident, and that wasn't. It was an issue, but I wasn't over the limit. But really fatigued, late nights, early mornings, just and it was late night when I had this accident in the dark, and I shouldn't have been driving. It's just a wake-up call to say, well, what were you doing?
Yeah.
So it just could have been very different, and that's what happens out there in New Zealand. Things happen to people that they don't think is going to happen. They don't get up in the morning and go, well, today I'm going to end up having a crash, and I might live or die. They happen, and being prepared for it and making the right decisions and understanding and having the knowledge to ensure that you are prepared for unforeseen circumstances, and that's down to driving skill. It's down to paying attention. It's about the awareness of a motor vehicle and what keeps it on the road, and driving accordingly to the conditions. There's so many factors, so many factors. Not just about being able to sit in the seat, hands on the wheel, and operate the pedals.
Yeah.
That is just such a minor part of the whole process.
What skill set do you think we lack most when we take to the road? Even not just as learners, but just in general. What do we lack?
We lack attention. We definitely these days become a lot worse at being distracted very easily, and there's many things, obviously mobile phones and other things that come into play. We don't take the whole role of driving safety on the roads. We don't take it serious enough. We're not aware of our surroundings enough. We're not aware of other drivers. You only have to drive a few kilometres anywhere these days and sit behind a car in front of you and look how many times the person looks in their rearview mirror.
Sure.
I mean, it's staggering sometimes to watch a car in front and watch the person sitting in there and look at their rearview mirror and not see them take one single glance for kilometres and kilometres and kilometres. So they don't even know who's behind them. I mean, it's how frustrating is it when you're driving along a perfectly good 100k road and someone's doing 78 kilometres an hour and there's 15 cars lined up.
Sure.
They don't know they're even there. So it's actually having that not just peripheral, but that perception perceptive awareness of what's going on around you, and being a good driver to have respect for other road users. And I don't think we do that very well at all either. We're not in respect of other road users.
Does motorsport lend any lessons useful to everyday driving?
Well, I think what it does is you are concentrating 100% at the job. You are concentrating when you are racing a racing car. Yes, you're going around the same bit of road, and generally things don't change too much, other than maybe obviously the traffic that's behind you, or everyone's going one direction. Hopefully, there's obviously weather that can play a part, those kinds of things. But you are concentrating 100% to drive that motor vehicle as fast as it can possibly go for the length of the race, and doing all these things pinpoint accurate all the time. And that's clearly something that is not done very well for people that are driving on the roads, is concentrating on the job at hand. Now, you can say, oh, we're not driving fast, we're not driving at breakneck speed. It doesn't matter. Operating a 2-ton, 1,800 kilo, 1,500 kilo, potential weapon, and monitoring correctly everything you're doing and concentrating at the job at hand. It doesn't matter if you're driving 20 k's an hour, 100 k's an hour, 200 k's an hour. Something that can do as much damage as what one of these can do. It's important that you're concentrating 100% when you are operating it, and not doing or trying to multitask or do something else. Every bit of your concentration should be taken to operating that vehicle to get from A to B as safely as possible. And New Zealanders and other parts of the world as well. But Kiwis, if we're talking about our road toll here, clearly are not doing that, and not doing it very well at all.
Right, speed kills, slow down. Is that just a message that's there to cover up other issues that we have?
Yeah, I'm not. I have certainly a bit of an issue with just saying speed kills and slow down, because that's maybe the speed that someone is travelling at the time is a contributing factor to it. But there's a lot of people that crash cars, and at 80 k's an hour, for them that is speeding, right? Because the way they're prepared, their skill set, how comfortable they are, confident they are in a motor vehicle, clearly 80 k's an hour is people's maximums.
Sure.
So for them, they can still crash at 80 k's an hour, and you could say that, well, maybe for them that was speeding, because that's what they were, they didn't want to do 100 because they weren't comfortable doing 100 k's an hour. Then there's people that are just going too fast and completely unaware of the danger they're potentially putting themselves in by travelling, but they have a perception that they're okay to do that, and that they can handle it, and that they're good drivers. But something will happen, a piece of the puzzle will change, which then puts them outside the zone of being able to control that vehicle at that speed. So I think it's very generic saying speed kills and slow down. There's factors certainly where that is the direct and contributor to it, but in many cases I think it's also it's an understanding, and it's a level of skill that determines if it was speed or not. Sure. The non-seatbelt thing is one that I just it's hard to comprehend. It really is. How many more messages do you need to put out there? 795 people died on New Zealand roads in 1987. There was 3.6 million people in the country. 3.4 million in the country. We've now got 4.6. And the amount of cars is horrendous, and we had 380 die last year. So compared to 795, that's good. But what's 4.6 million people versus 3.4 million people, and the road toll was over double in 1987. Well, what's saving people's lives is the cars. The cars are saving people's lives, because I think if you put that 795 dead people from 1987 in 2017 model cars, how many of them would still be alive?
Oh, yeah.
A lot.
Yeah.
A lot. Maybe well over half, maybe more. Who knows? We're probably having more crashes now than what we had in 1987, because there's a lot more cars on the road, populations are.
Sure.
But the cars are saving lives. How many more serious injuries we've got? Probably a lot. And a lot of those people would have lost their lives if they'd been living in 1987. I think the issue still, yes, old cars, we do still have an old fleet, but predominantly, if people were operating them better and with more knowledge, having tread on their tyres and knowing what tyres do, understanding the need for maintenance and brake checks and suspension and all those kinds of things, all that knowledge was all put together, and then a better understanding of what you need to do to respect the motor vehicle when it's driving, you're going to save a lot of people's lives, and we're going to have safer roads out there, no question about it. People blame the roads. I think there's only very few cases where you could actually legitimately say that the road is to blame for someone dying. So the roads don't move. Yes, the conditions change, and rain happens, and maybe there's diesel on the road, or oils come out, and all that kind of makes them a little bit more difficult. But essentially, that's why you drive to the conditions and make sure that you drive accordingly and appropriately.
Now, a lot of these thoughts are being impressed by the Street Smart program, which leads to me an interesting thought that you've accepted a role as an ambassador, but really Street Smart is reflecting a lot of things that you've been thinking about for a long time. I mean, your immersion in this project is more than an ambassadorial, isn't it? I mean, 100%. You're a good face for it, because you're a New Zealand's
recognisable, I suppose.
Yeah, well, you are. I mean, you've got a great, a massively successful motorsport career behind you. You're a well-known person. Well, and you resonate with people who are interested in cars.
Well, there's a connection, and you're a racing car driver, what will you know? Well, actually, it doesn't matter. I mean, I've driven a lot, I know a lot, I'm still learning. I do not profess to know everything there is, and and that's a good thing, because I can still learn. There's still things to be able to pick up all the time. I mean, Peter Shepherd, the technical director of this program, who's just an incredibly well-renowned road safety researcher and advocate, and who's created all the parts to the puzzle of this program. The learning you get from a man like that is just incredible, and I take my hat off to him. I mean, without him, we wouldn't have what we've got here, and this stuff that we're doing here is proven. It's absolutely dead set proven. These parts of the program are designed, and we know from experience and statistical information and research that these are the things that will make a difference. And I'm wholly supportive of everything that he has put together here to make this happen, because it will make a difference to it. But I think the frustrating thing is, for me and a lot of other people in the police that are here today talking to them, is just really the lack of attention and awareness of what you are doing that potentially is putting you at risk of ending up a statistic.